So during the summer, one of the things that my family and I enjoy doing is having a family movie night. I know there are many families that enjoy this said tradition, when we all snuggle down and pick a movie or a TV show to watch together. Often these nights involve a lot of compromise and bargaining until we can settle upon something that we all agree upon. But now that the school year is picking up again and Luke is teaching in Cleveland and the high holy days are coming, there are fewer opportunities for us to have these family movie nights. So as a result of this, I found myself in full control of the remote the other night. And I miss these family movie nights for several reasons. But one of them is, when left to my own devices, I have truly terrible taste in TV shows. For example, I have now watched several episodes of a show called Extreme Cake Makers. The entire show is British people making customized cakes for people. There's no competition, nothing else. It really is literally just British people making cakes. I have to tell you, it is a very pleasant and mindless way to spend some time, and I will say that the cakes are really beautiful in the end. But I have to admit, far worse than that, the other night, I found myself watching a show called Love is Blind UK. Correct. That is for sure the appropriate reaction to my viewing choices. So if you have been smart enough not to watch this particular terrible show, I will explain the premise of it. The show begins with the male contestants living in one part of the house together, and the female contestants living in another part. And then the show follows as the participants meet each other in these specially built pods. These pods are peculiar because the people can hear each other, but they can't see each other because there is a wall that is separating them. Then the contestants get to know each other and they date. Some couples progress then to have serious conversations. Some couples exchange "I love you." Some even get engaged, all before actually seeing each other. And then after the newly engaged couples get to meet, they slowly begin to integrate each other into their lives. Some couples at the end get married, and some don't. And a few, I think, are actually together a few years later. But at the heart of this truly problematic show is the question, is love truly blind? But what I find more interesting than this question, is love blind, are the bigger questions that the show asks about love. It asks us to think about how we connect with love, how we show it, and how we sustain it, especially once we hit obstacles. And I am 100% sure that this is not at all what the creators of Love is Blind was thinking about, but it actually reminds me of last week's Torah portion. In last week's Torah portion, Va'et Hanan, we find the words of the Ve'ahavta, which focus on love. These words are familiar because we say them in every single sentence, in every single service. In fact, we just said them a few minutes ago. The words in Hebrew begin, Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol meodecha v'hayu. But that's all the singing you're going to get from me. And they are normally translated as, you shall love the eternal your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And according to the Women's Torah commentary, the language is similar to what we find in Near Eastern political treatises. In them, love is just not just what we think about love as being, but it also implies a greater sense of loyalty to a power that is around us. Here, love is not just an emotion, but putting these ideals into action, implying that God is commanding from us intellectual and emotional and physical commitments as our way to show our love. In the biblical context of these famous lines, heart means not just hearts, but our minds as well. The word in Hebrew is lev, and that is linked to our thoughts and our intentions and our feelings. And nephesh, which is a word that we definitely know around here, is the Hebrew word for soul. But in the context of the Bible, the soul is connected to our emotions and our passions and our desires. And the Hebrew word for me'od really means strength, and possessions as well. So many of us have uttered these words countless times, but few of us have probably ever really stopped to think about what they mean. So how do we love God with our hearts and our souls and our mights? And in trying to figure out how we love God can be very complicated. One of my very favorite aspects of Reformed Judaism is that it allows for a wide array of theological beliefs and an understanding that our beliefs will change over time. I have frequent conversations with people who have had something difficult happening in their lives, and their theological beliefs are deeply shaken. And in the midst of a struggle, they might not even like God, let alone love God. So this commandment can feel difficult for them. Or there are times when people just feel distance from God, that they're not necessarily seeking a specific connection with God at all. So given the fact that we don't always feel like connecting, and certainly not always loving God, what do we do with this foundational prayer that we recite so often? And how do we even think about loving God with our hearts and our souls and our might with an ever-changing theology? So I suggest that the easiest way to connect with these lines is to think about how we put an aspirational love of God into actions through our hearts and through our souls, and using our might. It is an opportunity for us to ask ourselves if we are using our hearts and our souls and our strength to work towards loving each other and treating each other in ways that are truly worthy of God's blessing. For example, are we using our minds to envision and work towards tikkun olam? Are we using our hearts to have empathy for others? Are we using our nefesh to connect with our best selves? Are we using our strength to advocate for what is important to us and to love the people in our lives the very best way that we can? Especially with Elul beginning in just a few weeks, this is the perfect time of year for us to reflect about our lives. And we can push ourselves to do better in the areas of our lives where we need improvement, but also to take some time to really appreciate what is good in our lives. On this Torah portion, Rabbi Lisa Slaff writes, whether it is in the desert, the promised land, or 2024 in North America, our tradition is clear that love is a verb. It's not just simply an emotion or a feeling. For the Torah and the later sources, love is what we do, not just how we feel. While Deuteronomy sets us on a path of what we are meant to do, to teach and to speak about love, our tradition goes from there. Rabbi Shai Held writes that a Judaism that fulfills its purpose is a Judaism in which we are all moved to act towards greater acts of love and kindness than we might do otherwise. And that is the true project of Judaism. So the question remains, is love really blind? The show asked that. And my answer to that question is, I have no idea. But I do know that we can show our love for God through our hearts and our souls and our mights, and how we treat each other, and how we care for each other, and most importantly, how we love each other. So especially as the new year is approaching, may we all find ways to love God and each other using our compassion, our intellect, our core values, and our strength. And when we do so, may we be able to build together a true Kahila Kadosha, a sacred community that is filled and built upon love. Shabbat Shalom.